But it just was so perfect that he had that instinct and went with it, and that's a testament to Gunnar, as an actor, and just kind of knowing what the character is going through and using, his real life surrounding to breathe life into that. So that's pretty awesome, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Questions? Should I keep going?
Oh, yeah, I noticed your last album was centered around Freemasonry. Did that sort of inspire the Civil War scene?
So last Angels and Airwaves album was centered around Freemasonry.
Well, we use a lot of symbology and iconography to get people to, symbols are really interesting because when you look at them, they instantly mean something. And everything that we do is it's hard. Everything we do, we want to basically move people. We want people to be able to see something and register some kind of emotion. But along the lines of what you're asking, there's a very strict set of ethos that this band operates under, and those are some of the macro kind of parameters we gave Will. Is like, and this comes up a lot in the interviews. Like, how did you guys put this thing into motion? And basically, and this is where I grew up with Mark. Mark's like, yeah, I've done some video production. I grew up with this guy, and he's like acting. He knows me very, very well since I was a teenager, and so Mark was really, really good at, when I wasn't there, making sure that this whole thing fell within the realm of what Angels and Airwaves is. And the science fiction element, the space element is, because we like to always say, if space truthfully has no boundaries, then there's no boundaries of what's happening out there. That was one thing. The other thing is we always want to do art that centers around building a better world or building a better human being, and that falls more in line with what you're asking. And then some of the other stuff was we wanted it to be very artistic. We wanted it to be out of the box and experimental. So it wasn't specifically about the masonry stuff, but it had a lot to do with the idea of kind of what that stands for and what the band stands for, in the sense of we want something to come off that's really cool, but speaks to the just building a better world. And I think that Will did a tremendous job at doing that.
Yes, you in the center.
Question for Will. I think this is a little bit before, but how did you actually come about with the story and the content of this? What did you come up with first and later, and how did it start doing the filming?
That's a good question. Basically, yeah, it was actually when I first met Tom. He played a bunch of songs from an album called I Empire. He's like, yeah, we want to make a bunch of music videos, not music videos, but vignettes, little art pieces to these. And the first song they played was Love Like Rockets, and it was about a guy going up in a spaceship. And so in my head, immediately I'm thinking, okay, how can I turn this into something bigger or that fits together, and it's not just like 10 pieces. So I started thinking about like how weird would it be if you got stranded in the International Space Station. Since then, I've learned that there is a pod on the space station in case this ever happens, and you can shoot off and escape. So, anyways, not 100% realistic, but
Suspense of disbelief, right?
Yeah, that's your leap of faith as an audience. But anyways, I just thought it'd be really crazy if somebody got stuck in the space station, and what would happen to their psyche, and then like where would they start to lose it, how long into that process. And I felt like the Civil War, in terms of just being sort of a metaphor for human calamity and sort of our biggest folly, not the Civil War in general, but just the fact that we sit here and we have all these crazy petty arguments over the silliest of shit here on Earth. Sorry, swear words. But I felt like the Civil War was a great sort of tangible, example of human calamity here, on Earth. So I used that. I started to tie that in, and that was all at the very beginning. I mean, a lot of the lines and things and actual parts of the movie developed as we were shooting. They were constantly changing, and that's just a huge testament to where Gunnar would go with his character. But we pretty much had it all buttoned up before we started shooting like the main core of the space thing. And then a lot of the visual stuff for Civil War, we had shot some of it, but it wasn't as high production value. So that was the last thing we touched upon, was the space stuff. After we more or less shot all that, we were like, man, our Civil War stuff really doesn't look that great. So we wanted to go back and make it feel a little bit more powerful, so it had a little bit more drive to the film.
There's so much I want to talk about. There's so much to this film, but we have only room for a couple more questions. You in the back, yeah.
Hi, thanks. First of all, I want to say
this, but I love that you asked that question because I was watching that part and I was wondering if people get that. And a lot of what we tried to do with the film was not be so completely literal. There's a famous thing they say about Bob Dylan: he'll never tell you what his songs are about, because I think 50% of the equation is that you're supposed to take part of that and interpret it to your own life. And so I think with this film, we wanted to leave specific holes so people can fill in what they think's happening. I love the idea that he's looking out the window and the earth is kind of melting into its own. That you don't know if it's war down there. You don't know if it's just superstorms taking everything out. All you know is that it's just quietly going away. And that to me is even more sad. You just know that something bad's happening, but you don't know quite what, and you're stuck there. But it's cool that you asked that, because that was an important little part that I remember that I referenced a bunch. I was like, it's specific in the movie trailer and it's specific in